Hey guys, midweek energy update, and this week it's all about Venus and Mars, relationship dynamics, power struggles in relationship dynamics, sudden changes in the context of relationship dynamics, Venus and Mars, masculine and feminine, in an opposition all week that happens to come exact on Thursday the 12th. We're going to be talking all about this in our report for today, and it's going to bring up most likely things having to do with love, money, other people. The self versus others could also be something that is like interwoven in whatever's playing out this week, or just like major themes that we're dealing with. Now, to bring it up a notch, the moon will be transiting through the sign of Taurus Wednesday into Thursday when this Mars-Venus opposition comes exact. They are in the signs of Leo and Aquarius. So this is going to set up a fixed sign T-square featuring the Venus-Mars opposition and the moon in the sign of Taurus, which is actually Venus's sign. And so this could be bringing some elevated levels of tension to what already is a pretty tense energy when we've got masculine and feminine in exact opposition to one another. And that moon transiting through the sign of Taurus is also going to be doing another thing, which is activating the current mutual reception that we've got playing out between Venus in the sign of Aquarius and Uranus, who rules Aquarius, in Venus's sign of Taurus. This is indicating some perhaps upheaval or shakeups or major change that is happening in the realms of love and money as well. And Pluto is wrapped up in this whole situation, also being at 0 degrees of the sign of Aquarius. We could be moving through a week with some wild twists and turns that have things, make things like head in a radically different direction that we didn't see coming. But, we've just come to a point where we know that like something needs to change. We can't go on the same way anymore. So it could be a week like that. We obviously have some interesting energy to get into today. So let's get into our report. Let's put all this together and see if we can get a sense of what things might be like for us as we move through the middle of our week in towards the weekend. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of this report, I have done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field from more than one modality whenever I'm doing these energy overviews, just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We're going to do that at the end. We are going to start with the astrology. Venus-Mars opposition week. All week, as I mentioned in my last video, relationship dynamics I do feel like are the highlight, taking center stage, masculine and feminine coming head to head, face to face with one another. This could also be bringing up themes of reflections, themes of like pairs and couplings, things that are the same but also contrast and opposition, and things that are different. This is opposites attracting. This is also like things that have been maybe joined for a long time that are no longer of a similar frequency or vibration being pushed apart. All this month of December, I've been like noticing, just kind of like through various patterns I have been presenting in the energy field, strong themes of, two and what that represents kind of numerologically on all ends of things, both like the pairing and even like the soulmate side of things, like things that are like a divine match for one another, and also things that are like polarly opposed, and the contrast and the dichotomy, and like attraction and repulsion, and doubling things and doubling down on things and doubling back on things, and just like do-overs. And then we've got all this retrograde energy going on as well. Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, which is the sign of the twins, which is the sign of pairs and counterparts, but also oppositions and contrast. And that is very interesting because we've got the energy that we have happening at the midpoint of our week this week, which obviously today's video is about, and really, I've been talking about and I will continue to talk about throughout the course of the week, which is this Mars-Venus opposition. Of course, Mars and Venus, that's the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, the force, the oppositions that do divinely attract. And they're in the exact opposition with each other. That's going to be happening on Thursday, December 12th, 2024. And it happens, they're going to be at 6 a.m. Eastern time on December 12th in exact alignment, which is like the fact that it's happening on this day at this time also brings in more layers of like numerological meaning along the lines of these opposing forces coming together, or the balance of the masculine and the feminine, or similarly, you know, or by contrast, the oppositional tendency that this energy can also bring in. We're talking about December 12th, 2024. That's 12/12/24, the doubling of the number, the first number, to arrive at the last number. And then if we think about it in terms of the numerology and how that applies in the context of the tarot, we're talking about 12 and 12, that's a 6. 24, that's a 6. The 6 card in the tarot in the major arcana is the Lovers, which is associated with the sign of Gemini and the twins, and these very same themes of both counterparts and contrasts, and like what comes together but what also pushes itself apart. And we're talking about the Lovers in the tarot being associated as well with choices and decisions and how things are going to come together to move forward one way or another. Definitely, obviously bringing in relationship dynamics, masculine and feminine when we're talking about the Lovers card, but also just pairs and couples and twins and like pairings of two of all different kinds. These are not a group. Like, and that's what's interesting about this. Like, everywhere that this same overlapping pattern continues to present itself, it's in the context of the 2. It's not in the context of the 3, which sometimes I'll see come through, or, you know, the 4, or like a group of something. It's in the context of the 2. And then if we want to take that like up even to another level, bring in some symbolism, the position of the North Node right now, you guys, which is the destiny point at 4 degrees of the sign of Aries, well, actually 3 degrees of the sign of Aries, but when we read this Sabian symbols, we round up a degree. So I'm reading the Sabian symbol of 4 Aries, and that Sabian symbol is 2 lovers strolling through a secluded walk. So again, another reference to like literally the Lovers, which is that 6. The 12 and the 12 breaks down to a 6 numerologically. The 2 and the 4, the 24, breaks down to a 6. The 6 is the Lovers card. We've got the North Node, the destiny point at that degree, specifically talking about relationship dynamics. And if we continue to break down the numerology, we've got the 6 and the 6, that's a 12, that's a 3, which is the degree position of the North Node. Like I just said, the North Node is at 3 degrees of sign of Aries. Aries ruled by Mars, Mars being one of the 2 parties in this opposition representing the masculine energy. And then, like I said, when we break that down and we get that 3, the 3 card numerologically in the tarot is associated with the Empress. That's the 3rd card in the major arcana, which is obviously the Venetian energy. And we have the moon transiting through the sign of Taurus, which is what we're going to be talking about in our report for today, which is ruled by Venus. Okay, so the North Node is relevant in the trine actually to Mars and Aries, while Mars rules the position of the North Node, and at 3 degrees of Aries, talking about the Lovers, while we've got the 6 and the 6 talking about the Lovers, talking about Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini, talking about things that are the same, things that are different, but 2 of them, these pairs, these couplings, like alliances, like, you know, I don't know, 2 parties involved in something that is likely to be in the process of undergoing some type of major change that could have to do with some type of power struggle, and that is probably like presenting itself quite prominently in one way or another in our lives throughout the course of this week. So it's, as you can see, there are just a multitude of overlapping energetic patterns coming through, all kind of really speaking to the same things, like almost verbatim. We're talking about the Lovers, we're talking about the Lovers in the secluded walk, we're talking about Venus and Mars, that would be the Lovers relationship dynamics. So as you will see as we continue on through this report, there is an energetic influence with Mars being retrograde. Like I said, the moon in Taurus is going to be forming a fixed T-square to that opposition. It's It's also going to be activating the current mutual reception, which is significant between Venus and Uranus while they are in each other's signs. Some type of powerful transformation or sudden unexpected change is likely to be going on in the realms of relationships if they are not in divine alignment. The North Node. Like, that's really what all this boils down to. And I'm going to do a whole bunch of talking in this report and a whole bunch of explaining things in detail and going in depth about various transits and stuff. But really, I mean, it's pretty simple. And that's what all this boils down to. Any relationship dynamic, or even not even necessarily relationship, but like it could have to do with finances, it could have to do with like creative projects that we're involved in, it could have to do with financial situations, but anything that is not true to what it appears to be, anything that is out of alignment with the, like, out of authentic alignment with the image which it presents, or that is just not what we thought it was, or is just like lacking in realness in one way or another, or just doesn't feel like it totally vibes with us anymore, or is unfulfilling on some level or unstimulating on some level, it's going to become intolerable. People are just going to be over it. Like, nobody, we're going to come to the point of like not wanting to put work into things anymore, which have not like bared fruit up until this point in time and are not like giving back to us what we feel like we should be receiving out of them. There, I think, could be a lot of like dissatisfaction or recognizing things as being unfair that is in some way maybe motivating us to want to make a major change. With this Mars retrograde energy as well, I do feel like this is talking about us perhaps wanting to get out of something, no longer be involved, as I said, even like divest, like pull assets out, like pull money out, or pull out our time and our energy, or just like not be connected to certain things that maybe we, for a period, were quite sure that we wanted to commit or invest to or in. And, you know, I think a lot of people, therefore, are going to be going through pretty big changes in relationships this week, especially, again, if they have been unfulfilling, understimulating, if they're just like lacking in that genuine soul connection, like something deep and something that feels like authentic, genuine love, okay? If needs are not being met, conflict is most likely going to arise in this energy. And another thing, this is a fixed sign T-square that we're dealing in, with the moon transiting through the sign of Taurus when these two planets come into their opposition in Aquarius and Leo. This is breaking up stagnation. The purpose of this square is to like shake things loose a little bit, like create some space or create some wiggle room in things that have been quite stubborn or fixed or like cemented in place, maybe for a long period of time. Things that didn't seem movable, all of a sudden maybe, or that seemed perhaps very secure, all of a sudden maybe seeming like a bit more shaky. And I do think, and I think honestly for the entirety of the time that we have Venus transiting through the sign of Aquarius in this mutual reception with Uranus, who's in the sign of Taurus, we could just be experiencing some like off the wall wild stuff when it comes to other people in relationships, like things that you never would have expected, shocking like twists and turns of events, like finding ourselves in scenarios and situations that we just never would have called 2 weeks ago, but oh, you know, here this is going on. And also, I really think it's going to expose a lot of true colors. This energy, this Venus-Mars situation, and also remember Pluto's involved as well. Pluto is currently at 0 degrees of the sign of Aquarius. Venus and Mars line up in their exact opposition on Thursday at 5 degrees and 58 minutes of the signs of Leo and Sagittarius, which is also interesting because when we're reading the Sabian symbols for those degrees, it would be the sixth Sabian symbol again. So the number 6, it's like 3, 6, 12, 24, the doubling of things associated with that, I don't know, just real interesting. And the numerological significance and the tarot also associated with the numerology that's presenting here. It is just kind of all going back to these same themes that are centralizing around twos, couples, relationships, partners, pairs, coming together, being driven apart, and again, like maybe this power struggle or this like sudden unexpected change that is somehow playing a part or playing a role in that somehow. But the T-square, I will say that moon coming through Taurus right when we have that exact opposition is definitely going to add an additional layer of tension to what would already be that more conflict prone energy. And the conflict is going to be derived from where we're feeling unfulfilled and our needs aren't being met, or we're unsatisfied, or things aren't fair. People aren't going to be willing to like settle, I guess we could say, is probably a good way of describing it as well. So sudden change in relationships, finances, also creativity, abundance, beauty. People could be like suddenly totally changing their appearance in this energy as well. Like I wouldn't be surprised about that. And with the Venus Uranus mutual reception being activated by the moon in Taurus, because Uranus, the planet of shocking sudden change, is in the sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus. This is also awakening to things as well that could be sort of like the catalyst for the change that's coming through. And Venus is in the sign of Aquarius, which is a desire for change, to have things more real, more authentic, or to stimulate our mind in some type of a way. Venus in the sign of Aquarius really very much desires mental stimulation as well. There needs to be like a depth of connection, something that feels very real and something that is mentally stimulated in order to keep us attracted, like excited and attached when we've got Venus in Aquarius. And with the mutual reception with Uranus also in Taurus, that is amplifying this like lack of satisfaction with the general status quo and what's not like truly feeding our heart and soul. Even more so, especially with that Mars retrograde and in the exact opposition to Venus. So I think that we could, in some ways, be kind of hyper stimulated or hyper focused this week on what we're realizing needs to change in order to be more in alignment with what we need to feel fulfilled, or like what we want to experience next, or needing to get out of something maybe altogether, again, like backtrack, second thoughts, pulling out, stuff like that. So the desire for novelty, the desire for newness, innovation, something unique, something different, something that stimulates the mind as well as the heart and the physical senses. When we've got Venus in the sign of Aquarius, the same old is just not gonna cut it. It's not gonna have the appeal, especially again if it's not bringing the excitement, if it's not working with us on like that more mentalized level. There is also likely to be a simultaneous or similar intolerance for anything that we feel like is like wielding power over us in a way that is just not sitting right with us anymore as well, or stealing our power in a way that we are also coming to a point of just not being cool with anymore. Maybe it's a situation that we've been existing within or under, or was just a part of our lives somehow for a long time, and maybe it like didn't seem like that big of a deal to us for one reason or another, but for whatever reason, probably because of the way that we are actually changing as we move through this energy, we just cannot do it anymore. We don't want to do it anymore. We're not going to do it anymore. And most importantly, it's because it's not worth it to us anymore on some level. Again, likely because we are discovering a greater sense of self-worth, or we are gaining or awakening to more value in and of or within ourselves, somehow forming a stronger and more authentic and genuine relationship to ourselves as a dynamic of this. Also that North Node in Aries, you guys, I've been talking about this for a long time. We have been in a 1.5 year lesson plan right now that has been asking us to step into our power, to redefine ourselves, to become the leader in our own story. And when we've got all this Aquarius energy that is coming into that now, and Mars going retrograde, I just feel like it's going to have this cumulative effect of us not wanting it anymore. You know what I mean? Like if it is not supporting our growth, if it does not recognize our potential, if it is not like helping us to become the next level of ourselves, if it's associated and aligned with and resonating to and reflecting the old version of ourselves, the past version of ourselves that maybe we were fixed in or represented ourselves at, or were, I mean, again, this whole Saturn energy as well, the boxes that we've been holding ourselves in, anything that's suffocating, stifling growth at this point in time is going to lose its appeal, and we're gonna have to find our way out of the situation one way or another. There's gonna be an intolerance for it. Remember, Pluto also at 0 degrees of the sign of Aquarius right now. This is in a conjunction to Venus and to Mars while they're in their opposition. The opposition is happening at 5 degrees and 58 minutes of the sign of Aquarius. Pluto's at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So again, we are within 6 degrees of Pluto. Pluto is power in all of its forms. It's also purge, purification, transformation. Pluto in the sign of Aquarius wants to empower the individual to like activate their destiny. As you guys know, on this channel, we are narrating the shift of the ages. We are in the midst of an ongoing paradigm shift from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, which we are taking into account on this channel as we look at all of the day-by-day minute aspects, energetic shifts and changes that are moving us in that direction. One of the most important of which at this point in time is this 20-year transit of Pluto through the sign of Aquarius. Again, Pluto power in all of its forms. That also rules the underworld. This is what roots and anchors things. This Aquarian energy being rooted and anchored into our reality right now as we are at the precipice, or, you know, crossing the bridge from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. I think that a lot that goes on over this next 20 years is going to define the beginning of what is the themes, the major themes and ways that life and evolution and growth and everything all around us is unfolding over the course actually of the next 2,000 years. So as a result of that, we're probably going to find some big significant changes taking place within us that alter the entire course of our lives, or what we had thought was going to be the course of our lives. Because in Aquarius, this is also an energy that in Uranus, it brings sudden unexpected change. It's expect the unexpected. I'm telling you, you guys, a lot of people throughout the course of this next 20 years are gonna go through some type of like crazy rebirth experience that like totally reinvigorates their life and presents these opportunities based in actually some type of like self-starting or some type of like creative potential or something within that we are bringing out, some knowledge, some skills, some talent. You know, it doesn't even need to be anything extravagant. It could literally be anything, but there's going to be like all these new paths and all these new trajectories and all these new opportunities that are opening up in ways that we never could have imagined, simply because this Aquarius energy that has everything to do with destiny, facilitating the cosmic path and plan to come to pass, and empowering the individual with a subconscious awakening to, you know, really what they hold within and what can be done with that to bring something outward that like serves not only the self but also the greater whole when we're talking about the Leo Aquarius axis. And then we also have to realize that we are currently concluding, or on our way to conclude, a 7-year transit of Uranus through the sign of Taurus. This is another energy that has been awakening us to what it is that we truly value, our inner resources and what we can do with them to create something of beauty or stability or abundance in the 3D world around us. How much more self-reliant we really are than maybe we thought we ever could be, and all types of things along those lines. And also what changes we need to make in relationships so that we can tap more into our own creative potential. And that is, again, like another major dimension of how all this energy is coming together right now, because that whole entire 7-year process, 7-year transit, Uranus going through the sign of Taurus. Uranus is still retrograde right now, and Uranus is going to be in Taurus for a little while longer, but we are wrapping up this process. And that energy, of course, being activated by the mutual reception with Venus and Aquarius right now, and also that Taurus moon coming through. on Thursday into Friday this week, actually later in the day on Thursday, the moon's going to be coming into a conjunction with Uranus as well in the sign of Taurus, of course. I'm telling you guys, things are probably not going to go as planned on some level, in some way. Love, partnerships of all kinds, friendships, alliances, collaborations, any kind of relationships, universe is seeking to more authentically align right now. So it needs to be more fulfilling. It needs to be more supportive of our personal growth, of our transformations. Relationships that are currently in alignment are going to evolve into something even more powerfully synchronized that is facilitating the growth of each of the individuals involved. Relationships that are not authentically aligned right now are, no matter how much work or effort or time or whatever we put into them, they are just not going to be able to be maintained no matter how much we try. If they are not the divine vision of what is truly meant for us, it's just not going to work out right now. And in this case, these relationships were never actually about permanency. They were always part of a greater lesson plan to help us actually gain a better understanding of our own selves, our needs, our desires, who we really are, who we really aren't, what we really want, what we absolutely do not. And the way that we were going to learn this about ourselves was through everything that we had to experience in the context of that relationship dynamic. So pairings that are truly in alignment right now, they're going to go to the next level. Anything that is out of authentic alignment, no matter how hard we try, it's not going to be able to come together. Things are going to happen that are beyond our control, that are going to continue to push it apart, because our job is to learn the lesson, not to hold on to the false conclusion or understanding or appearance that it's for the purpose of some type of long-term permanent connection. Okay, so, and that's a message that's also coming through in the tarot that we will get to in a few minutes. But I do think with this Mars retrograde opposite Venus and Aquarius, with Pluto there and the Uranian mutual reception, and also don't forget we have Mercury and Jupiter that are currently both retrograding and mutual reception right now as well. They're in Mars, the whole Mars retrograde thing, there's going to be a lot of backpedaling. I do think parties suddenly just pulling out of all types of stuff. And with Mars in the trine to the North Node and the Uranian influence going on and all of this retrograde energy, it's because there is a need to make corrections. People are reconsidering, right? Doubling back on things, needing to gain a second, Mercury retrograde. That's always kind of some classic terminology when we've got a Mercury retrograde, needing to take a second look at things. But when we've got Uranus retrograde and Jupiter retrograde and Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde all at the same time, I think that maybe we are gaining some massive insight somehow about the past that is making us really reconsider things and need to change our approach. Many people on a collective level, I think, are going to be changing their approach to the way that they are doing things going forward. Again, largely based on perhaps some of these value changes or preference changes or changes in what it is that we really want, and also who we're realizing we really are and are not, as this energy presents it to us and makes it quite clear to us, maybe because of how our dealings with other people are unfolding at this point in time. So, I do think with that North Node presence, that Uranian presence, that's the galactic fixer. That's the destiny point. This is tower moments. This is things happening in ways that just feel wildly out of our control, or that are just seemingly falling into place around us without us literally having to put forth any effort or really doing much at all in order to achieve whatever results are finding their ways into our lives right now. Really unexpected, unpredictable, out of the blue, crazy turns of events, I think, could be coming up here that we just wouldn't have predicted, wouldn't have seen coming, and that alter the like definite course of things moving forward, but we are going to find in the long run, you guys, that these are changes for the better. These are going to be ultimately beneficial. Uranus brings silver lining energy, blessings in disguise. So while a lot of these shakeups could feel quite chaotic and make us just have us in a place of like extreme insecurity right now, like not knowing what's going to happen, and we may feel like we are really just have no choice but to surrender to the process and ride on our faith, because of the planets involved, because of the way all this is coming together, because of the unfolding greater context of things right now, because of what seems to be the underlying purpose in all of this, I just feel like it's going to all, for the most part, ultimately end up being some type of silver lining and some type of beneficial event or occurrence somehow once things come to pass and we arrive at the point where we can look back and realize like the opportunity that this path has brought us towards, or just again like the benefic nature ultimately of the changes that are to result from whatever's playing out right now. A lot of divine intervention, I do feel like, is happening in the month of December, even if we can't see it, even if it seems like the total opposite and everything is falling apart. I do think that actually the purpose of everything that's going on right now is more to fix things ultimately than make them worse. It's like, you know, when the floor is rotting out in a house or something like that, and you have to rip it up in order to fix it. I think that stuff like that could be finding its way into our lives in reality, in terms of, you know, whatever is just not working for us or broken or in any way also toxic to our ability to grow. Because ultimately right now, heading into the age of Aquarius, Pluto 20 years in the sign of Aquarius, self-actualization, personal upgrade, like gaining greater understanding of things generally, knowledge as a new currency, like we are being compelled to like expand consciously over this period of time. And so therefore anything that would be restricting or stifling that, universe is not going to allow to come with us into this next phase or era of our lives. Okay, so massive personal awakenings are very likely now as well, probably going to play into a lot of this. And if things do feel like they're falling apart for you and you just really don't know what to do in the energy, I do think the creative end of the Mars-Venus dynamic of things is probably what we should tap into, especially also with the Venus-Uranus mutual reception that's being activated, and also the moon in Taurus. Even though the moon in Taurus is squaring everything in, well, not everything, but Venus and Mars this week, the moon does love to be in the sign of Taurus. This is a creative placement, and Mars and Venus, like I said, do stimulate our creativity as well. Okay, so the cultivation of creative ideas based in passion, based in joy, what maybe you've always wanted to do or to build or to grow or to create, allowing yourself to entertain some of that. Like, have you always wanted to learn to play an instrument or to paint or make sculptures or dance or like sew or cook or build something? This is a really, really, really good time also with the Mercury-Jupiter mutual reception, even though they're both retrograde, to learn something new, learn a new skill, a craft, expand on a talent you have, like build your talent stack, learn something new, create something. This is a very positive way to use this energy if we feel like everything externally is just like out of our control or falling apart. What you create within your mind and heart that brings you joy, that feels good, that makes your heart sing, that no one can take from you, despite the instability or the lack of security or the, you know, questionable like resources or material stuff that's going on around you. What can you take from inside yourself to give the world, even if it seems like everything else is not dependable? How can you find ways to let your light shine, even if they're just the very smallest ways? This is, I think, another element of what universe wants to teach us as we go through this period of time, especially the Sagittarius season. So if you are feeling a bit lost in the dark this week, the guidance, I think, is to try to learn to see in the dark through cultivating the light within, illuminating from within. And that is how I think that we're going to dissipate some of the shadows and actually, again, like pull ourselves out of maybe just like some of the more difficult scenarios that we've been facing or going through. Remember, again, I keep going back to this North Node in the sign of Aries. Aries and also Leo, this is about courage. This is about strength. This is about passion and motivation and self-empowerment. We need to be like the hero in our own story, like our own knight in shining armor. We need to prove to ourselves what we're really capable of. That is also Uranus and Venus and their mutual reception. Proving to ourselves what it is that we're truly capable and the strength and the self-empowerment that gives us to recreate and to redefine ourselves, and therefore this next era of our lives moving forward. It's all fitting together. They're like all pieces of the puzzle that just shows us transforming, upgrading, up-leveling, evolving on some level into just this higher version of ourselves. And it is going to happen for all of us in some way, big or small, total life transformation and overhaul, or in the most minute ways. No one is escaping this trajectory, okay, over this next 20 years when we have Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So if all else fails this week, you guys, be creative. We do also have a relative T-square going on between Saturn, Jupiter, and the Sun in mutable signs, Sun in Sag, Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter is retrograding back into a closer square with Saturn as just like a result of his backwards motion right now. This is also a manifestation energy. It is about big vision and the ability to ground it into reality. But with this square, like it's still something that needs to be overcome. With Jupiter retrograde, there are still more lessons that need to be learned. And we need to go through this collective period of corrections before we're going to know exactly how we need to build and implement and lay the foundations in order to bring that bigger vision into life. So I don't think a whole bunch is moving forward right now, you guys. I think that a lot that has been put out there is being revised and like just corrected. We're figuring out maybe like what wasn't going to work or what hasn't been working or just what's not working. We're getting rid of the issue so that when it is time to move forward, things are going to happen successfully. And I do think that with this Jupiterian presence right now and the Jupiter-Saturn squares, our manifestations moving forward in this new era that I've been talking about are going to be successful. But you want to know why? It's also going to be because a lot of the like people in relationship situations that maybe had been like interfering with our energy or our creativity or our ability to like detach ourselves or recreate ourselves in some way in alignment with this new path we need to be going on, they're going to be out of the picture. So we're going to be like somehow a lot more unencumbered by other people in ways that has been detrimental to our growth and success. And a lot of, again, this very internalized process of change, redefining ourselves, redefining our values and what it is that we really want moving forward. And I feel like actually the Sabian symbol of Mercury today at 8 degrees of Sagittarius kind of explains it all. That Sabian symbol is deep within the earth. New elements are being formed. And that's what's going on here. And that's why we're going to grow less and less satisfied with what always has been, because we just genuinely are not going to be the same. Because that's just how it has to go when you are going through a shift of ages. So that's what I'm going to say, you guys, about the astrology. We've got tarot cards today to talk about. We kind of had, we got a few different cards coming out today. They actually kind of came out in like 3 different piles though, so I'm going to describe all of this energy that I see, but I will tell you on the back of the deck, I'm encouraged. I'm very encouraged because we have the Eight of Swords in reverse, which if I'm going to see the Eight of Swords, I love to see the Eight of Swords in reverse because that means that we are being released from some type of mental prison or lack of clarity or lack of understanding. Like, we are coming to see something clearly. We are being given like some type of like fresh vision or fresh insight or new perspective into something that had been limiting us or keeping us blinded to something or keeping us in a state of illusion or false pretense or just generally maybe unaware of what was going on around us on a greater level. Somehow there is some type of fresh insight or perspective that is coming in the context of whatever this Venus Mars energy is doing for us this week. Now, in terms of the actual cards that came out, first we had the Four of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. What have we been holding on to that wasn't actually true, or that wasn't as it appeared to be, or that was not clear on some level? Makes me think of those back of the deck cards as well. But anyways, some false idea maybe that we are holding on to, coming to a point where maybe that is what we can't take with us anymore, or we're just not willing to deal with anymore. We also next have coming out the Justice card in reverse, the Four of Cups, and the King of Wands. This series of cards to me is also bringing in this idea of like lack of satisfaction, especially if we feel like it's not fair. So it could be like some type of realization that we've been holding on to something that has not been fair. And with the Four of Cups and the King of Wands here, it's like, if it's not lighting our fire, if it's not fulfilling to us, if it's not stimulating that creativity and that passion, that inspiration within, like if we're not magnetically attracted to it, you guys, like just not interested, state of apathy, like it's just not doing it for us, okay? And then the last two cards that we have coming out, again, the Five of Cups and the Chariot. We might be disappointed, but we're also determined to move forward. There could be some disappointing losses or some disappointed endings. The Five of Cups is like the crying over spilled milk card, you know what I mean? Like disappointed over perhaps what it is that we are losing out on, or what it is that we're having to let go of, or what it is that we feel like has just been squandered, the time and energy put in. There could be, you know, a sense of guilt, maybe even that's associated with it to some extent, or just like a melancholy. However, with the Chariot, there is a steadfast determination to move forward towards something in this new direction. And then again, with the Page of Swords and the Eight of Swords in reverse on the back of the deck, like we're not staying stuck. Sometimes it's like fresh air, a breath of fresh air that is like stimulating us somehow to seek something that is more inspiring and that restores a sense of fairness or balance, or like that just feels like it's sitting right with us better somehow. I'm telling you, anything that is out of alignment with what, I mean, the King of Wands, like that's that Leo energy also. What is feeding our soul, bringing us back to life, firing us up, that is what we're after. And if it's not that, it's literally this: sorry, I can't do it anymore, I gotta walk away, I'm not happy about it, I'm disappointed, but I'm determined to move forward in this new direction. So that's what I'm gonna say, you guys, about the tarot message. Let's get a synchronicity card now. God, Spirit, Universe, one more piece of guidance or advice to get us through this week. What should we keep in mind? What do we need to know? What will benefit us to tell ourselves maybe as we go through some of this? Necessary changes in relationships that are happening. What should we keep in mind? What's important for us to know? Don't overdo. So all things in moderation as well. Do not worry about what you shall eat, Luke 12:27. If you have a problem with appetite, be it for food or any other thing, be not concerned. Thank God for removing the desire to overdo in the consumption of food or any other appetite. So our guidance, you guys, today is not to go all in on things necessarily. Again, like this is not really the time for investing, committing, putting too many eggs in one basket. This is kind of a time time for pulling back a little bit, for maybe trimming off some excess, for making corrections and fixing things. So we don't want to allow ourselves, I guess this is saying, to kind of like overindulge maybe to an extreme in some of the situations that might be presenting themselves over the week. Moderation, I guess, would probably be maybe a good thing to keep in mind however things play out this week. So that's what our synchronicity message is, message from the cards, message from the stars. And that's what I have to say for our video today. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments, you guys. I really appreciate what you guys have to say, your contributions to my channel. When you guys let me know what's going on with you out there, if you're having experiences that reflect what I'm talking about in these videos, that's super valuable to me. And again, I'm so grateful for your presence here. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group in my description box below where I post images of those boards. And come back with me on Friday, you guys. We are going to have a weekend video out taking a look at the energy that we have coming in this weekend, carrying us into next week, and I will be back to talk all about it. You should be back too. You should come with me. You don't want to miss it. And I will see you then, guys. Have a beautiful midpoint to your week, and until next time, bye.